I put on red lipstick today. I hope it, like, matches the color of, like, the cool background that you put, right? I was feeling very, like, Christmas inspired. It's like, I mean, what are we, like, 3 weeks away from Christmas?
Already?
I
Yeah,
know, I
I
know.
guess.
We're so close, and this is kind of like the time of year where, I mean, number 1, we like it's great to have all the Christmas decorations, all the trees set up, but I think we also need to talk about, well, what's in the new year? What are the New Year's resolutions and what's upcoming in selling and B2B, maybe even in fitness? What are we talking about today, Nick?
I cannot wait to pick your brain on 2022 predictions because what does the future hold? What are you seeing? I know that you live and breathe this, that the future of sales is what gets you excited. So
I'm living in the future and I'm waiting for everybody to, like, get on my bus. Like, "Hey, everybody, come on over." We've been talking about, like, virtual selling trends. We've been talking about where B2B has been going. I mean, since the beginning of this year, I think our entire team has been diving into this because we're like, "This is the time. Like, this is when we need to start, talking about this." And over the last couple years, this digital transformation has taken over in the B2B selling space. And now we're seeing like how the accumulation is going. 2022 is going to be one of the most interesting years, I think, when it comes to virtual selling, to business conversations. Because what does this look like as we're trying to connect with prospects a lot more?
yeah, and I want your opinion on social media. Do you
Yes.
think that's something that's going to grow? Is there a big potential to go and dive into social media in 2022?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, you and I were discussing where we saw this, and we saw this in like 5 different areas of massive trends that we're going to be seeing. And social media was the biggest one that we're going to continue to see. So let's be honest, social selling, there's nothing new with social selling, right? I mean, we already know this because you're watching this on LinkedIn. You were either invited, you have dedicated yourself to it. Welcome to everybody. Hello. Shout out to Phil, who's already said hello on the chat. Don't forget, we actually can see you live. So say hello. Let us know if you're eating, drinking. Is it lunchtime, dinner time, wherever you are? Social media is definitely going to continue on this trend. Now, what is going to be different with social selling and social media is that we haven't even scratched the surface of this over the last couple years. We have now seen more people reactivate their LinkedIn accounts because they're like, oh crap, now I can't get in front of clients. I have to go ahead and try to find another way of connecting with them. So they've been reactivating LinkedIn accounts. They've been trying to find different places to go. And some of these places to go have been the old places to go. Reddit exploded this year when it came to social media. Were you following the Wall Street Bets channel, or at least the story behind that from like early January 2020?
No.
So Wall Street Bets. So if you ever saw like the diamond hands, right? This was like, the apes gone wild type of thing. And I also want to hear any shout outs if anybody's like still holding on to their AMC or their GameStop stocks, because this was a big thing. And where we were seeing this massive trend is because we couldn't meet people in person, we were having to communicate in these centralized channels. In specific, the Reddit channel, the Wall Street Bets, went from 1.7 million followers to it to 11 million users within only a short period of time.
Wow.
LinkedIn has seen incredible growth in the amount of people that are activating this. But where social media is going to really kind of target is how do we create smaller conversations among the vast noise? We're starting to see diversification across different medias. Facebook is not seeing the same monopoly around the programs that they did. TikTok is starting to pull people away. Twitter is starting to pull people away. LinkedIn, and we're starting to see more and more. I'm hearing one called Neighborly. Why is Neighborly so successful? Because it's based on smaller geographics or smaller conversations. So, what we're going to see in the next new year, and this is where people need to start capitalizing on this today, is asking themselves, instead of trying to become a LinkedIn influencer, instead of trying to become the one place where everyone's going to talk to, how do you get yourself targeted in those smaller conversations? The industries that are going to see the most massive amount of growth in this: construction, commercial, industrial, manufacturing, energy services, these more traditional types of industries, who right now have for a long time said, I only meet my client face to face. I shake
Mhm.
your hand, Nick, and that's how we get to meet.
Coffee
But
and donuts and showing up at your site.
yeah, let's put on the hard hat. Let's go for a golf
Mhm.
game. Let's go for some beers. And that's on, like, that's still going to be a part of this. And I think we're going to talk about this in number 3 or number 4 of our 5 trends today. But what we're going to see is you need to find yourself to have a conversation in a micro community. How do
Mhm.
you become the noise in those smaller communities, as opposed to trying to come across as everything? Because these industries, commercial construction, industrial, manufacturing, energy services, I mean, what are some of these other more traditional industries that I'm thinking of,
Well, even
right?
look at IT and even business software now. They're realizing that the way they've always done things just doesn't work, and that it's
Absolutely.
adapt or die. As strong as those words are, and social for the most part is just the option. But the problem is people aren't putting up with generic stuff anymore. They don't want a
It's not.
generic source. They want a credible source that is very specific to what. Do you think that they have to go and be in their industry, or do you think they just need to be very specific on a category so that people can learn and be part of that?
The narrower your market, the bigger you are in that marketplace. And when we think, we've talked about this on the show before, is that LinkedIn has to be a water cooler of conversations. So instead of trying to talk to, like, if you thought about, like, LinkedIn maybe as like a office tower, right? We're not here trying to talk to everybody on every single floor. We want to start being shown up at this specific water cooler on this specific floor. I want to talk to this specific category of people about this specific trend. We're not here to talk about sales. We're here
Mhm.
to talk about business to business virtual selling for those clients that are selling premium products or services in larger spaces. We're narrowing ourselves down. We can get even more specific by saying, like, we're only going to be talking to Americans and maybe Canadians. I don't know. Maybe those Canadians can qualify for this conversation. But and then we can even get even narrower than that. Get clear, and when you start to get clearer on that conversation, as these people start to engage more on social media, you're the person that's now showing up on that feed. This
Mhm.
isn't a question of if your clients and prospects show up, it's when. And the faster you show up to these games, especially if you're one of those people saying, Kim, most of my clients aren't on LinkedIn
Yeah, sure.
yet. Yet,
I
and
bet you their
yet is the
salespeople
key
are.
word. I bet their salespeople are. I bet you their new hires are. I bet you the people they just they're going to be trying to attract from all of these schools, technical trade, post secondaries, they're all on there because they're searching for jobs. That is who is on there. And the thing is, when somebody's searching for a job and they've used LinkedIn to get that job, they're more likely to stay engaged a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years later. And
Mhm.
are you already having that conversation with them? Or are you going to sit there and be like, huh, I missed the boat.
Well,
I
look at
missed the bus.
what is it you said a little while ago? We were talking, top of mind, top of feed. And LinkedIn actually makes that happen better than it's ever done before. So even if you're not going in with like that sniper approach where you're just like pitch slapping or like getting right in there with your pitch, people are now, as you're engaging, puts you up to top of feed. So your content that you're putting out there, your information, your everything you're doing becomes top of mind, top of feed. That's a
Oh,
huge opportunity for you to show up daily.
massive, massive. And the more specific you are in that conversation, the more you're going to attract and connect with those clients. And LinkedIn gives you a lot of opportunities to have a lot of different conversations. Like when we talk about social, right? We talk about reusing and repurposing content for multiple periods. Like let's talk about this show, right? So we have the
Mhm.
show. We have a blog post coming out this week. We are going to have a carousel. We're going to create it as imagery. We're going to have a carousel coming out of that. And then we're probably going to create some type of download or additional content, right? We've taken one piece of content, in this case, a 30-40 minute show, and we've turned it into 5 different touch points that various different people are going to touch on throughout a 2-week period. That is incredible. And yes, Elizabeth, I will meet you at the penthouse. Let's go do lunch. I am one of those people. I will have my Chardonnay and my salad. We'll have a salmon salad or something. I think that sounds fantastic.
Hey, Liz. And to everybody, as you're sitting here, I would love to know, what do you guys think? Is LinkedIn the opportunity? I think that we got 12 of 8, maybe even up to 2 years of super high growth on LinkedIn. And who
Yeah,
knows? I think that we might have to go and watch TikTok, because people that are commenting on TikTok, it's evolving. You've
yeah.
played with TikTok, Kim. What do you think?
So this was actually one of our other trends, wasn't it? Around so trend number 2 that I'm going to be seeing more is these TikTok style videos. Okay. But don't think, okay, everybody, this isn't I'm not asking you to go ahead and start dancing. I'm encouraging you to dance. Don't get me wrong. But that's only because of my selfishness that I love watching dancing videos. But what I do see is, what did TikTok do that Instagram wasn't doing, Nick? Do you
It
know
didn't.
what that was?
It didn't understand the assignment.
What was the assignment?
I don't know if you've seen that TikTok trend. I understood the assignment.
I have not, but now
No.
I'm into it.
And here, I thought you were going to be the next TikTok influencer. You haven't been
I
diving
know,
in
I
enough.
know. I have not been diving in enough, right? And this is why I actually have it as one of my predictions as where we need to go in B2B sales. Okay. I'm not just
Hmm.
talking about, trends like where do I see 2022? We're talking about business to business, high value sales. Okay. So TikTok style videos, right? What they did that they missed out on Instagram,
Yeah.
Instagram was great at just like promoting it.
Yeah.
TikTok forced you to limit the amount of time that your video was going to do. What's the
Oh, like the old
longest amount
Twitters, the whole what Twitter did.
what's the longest amount of time that you can record on a TikTok video? Do you know?
I think it's 3 minutes, but it just
2
went
I
up
think it's
from
2.
one.
It's 2 minutes. Maybe it's 3 now, right? But it's 2 minutes. They said, if your video is longer than 2 minutes, like, we don't want you. We don't care about you." But where do they try to encourage you to make most of your videos?
Under 30 seconds. But did you know that you get banned? They'll act they call it shadow banning, that if you don't actually get engagement from your target audience in the first 30 seconds over a period of time, they just stop showing your videos because you're not relevant.
Really? Really? So then what that tells me is that if your 2-minute video isn't engaging enough, right? People are just continuing to scroll, right?
Mhm.
We're not talking about swipe up, swipe left. We're just scroll. Yeah, good, 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 right? TikTok mastered this, right? LinkedIn knew this. Sorry, not LinkedIn. Facebook knew this information years ago. Back in 2011, 14,
With
back
stories?
in they no, not stories. Actually, it came before stories. They did testing on. They were just starting to do video ads, and what they started to
Mm.
see was that the most engaged video ads were 7 seconds long, and they're like, holy crap, this is incredible, right? Like, how do we maximize on this? But they didn't, right? Because they were just like, okay, let's just try to, like, people will pay more for longer ads. They catered to the advertiser and not to the consumer. This was a massive miss on this, right? The advertiser was willing to pay more for longer time ads, right? Not less, even though that they were getting less engagement, but the consumers were like, skip, skip, skip. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I'm watching a YouTube video and it's forcing me to watch 2 ads, I will say, "Okay, I'll watch the video, I'll put my phone down, I'll go do something." I'll be like, "Okay, the ads are done now."
I
Right?
haven't seen
Like,
ads in like 3 years, so I don't I
oh my
can't.
god. Are you a YouTube premium user? I'm like, "Are you the only one?"
No.
So what they did, so this is what TikTok did, is TikTok ended up now encouraging people to get 15-second videos. Get it in, get it out, get it in, get it out, right? Get to the conversation. And so how are they doing this in order to get a lot of information in 15 seconds? Is that they're encouraging you to do something, right? And yes, Rich, your 14-year-old is going to be a new master on LinkedIn because she knows how to use the ways of TikTok. You do something and you see text, 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 right? Or we're flashing cards or we're doing something and we're getting information in multiple ways. And we're like, cool, that's enough. That's all I need.
Mhm.
I need 15 seconds of content. I got to the point. Right.
Yeah,
TikTok is great, and I encourage you, if you are not on it, try it out. Yes, yes, geriatric millennial. Okay. Yes, Gen Xer, right? Get on it, right?
I think
Although,
they call it a senior millennial now.
are you seeing my gray hairs here? Is this what's going on? So so yes, like get on it, but limit the amount of time that you're going to be on video. What
Mhm.
can you say in and out in 15 seconds? That is the assignment. Your assignment is 15-second videos. And we've talked to Vidyard. I don't know if we talked to Vidyard on this show, but we've talked to Vidyard. Loom has had this. There are a ton of different video conversations. Dub has had this, dub.com. Shout out to Ruben and the team as well out there. Okay. They're forcing you to get into gifts. So when we see B2B prospecting, B2B education, this isn't about showing you all the products and features that I do. It's showing you in 15 seconds the result of what we can do for you. Look at this client, look at what they've done. Look at how we've done this. Look at how we're going to engage with you. Are you interested in learning more? We're going to see, yes, you're going to see more videos in your direct messaging. You're going to see more videos in your feed, but I promise you, they're going to be much shorter. They're probably going to be silent, or they're going to be paired with music, with text
And
overlaid on top. I don't have to listen to you to still get the content.
I think that one thing I've seen come out of nowhere is the whole buyer enablement with the same mentality coming into follow-up emails. So taking it asynchronous and unlocking time. So they're
Well,
sending it to their whole buyer committee, and then you're like, wow. So I sat down with one person, did all my fact gathering, put this all into a fun little video, and then you can watch it on Vidyard. Just go ting, 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 ting as everybody's watching it. It's working.
Well, that's what Vidyard's been doing. I mean, they have the ability to trim, to edit, to actually put the closed captions on the video ahead of time. We've been talking about the value of video like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when we were
Hmm.
originally teaching on Zoom. Because I said, guess what? When you're doing proposals, Zoom is the way to go. Now you can actually edit the piece. Because remember, if I'm a B2B seller, and I am presenting to an influencer, I have not had the opportunity to present to the decision makers. Maybe I won't get a chance to. Take that opportunity and cut out, trim, 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 trim the content so you can get to the biggest pieces. Zoom, if you're listening to me, this is the next feature that you need to start doing. Instead of just sharing the recording, allow people to very quickly trim out what 4 5-second pieces, or what 4 2-minute pieces do you want to include in this? And we will help trim
Mm.
it down for you. Because if I am a decision maker and I need to make a decision, I do not have time for an hour-long meeting. I do not have time to sit there and watch the analysis. I just want to see really quickly, what does the seller have to say? My influencers already said for me to go with this. I just need to make sure, give me the information I need in 2 minutes, right? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that's fine. But TikTok style video, fast, 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 fast. That is the way to go. I'm loving the conversation here. Like, is anyone in the chat, are you seeing shorter videos? Right. Number one, how many people are doing the shout out to yes, Kim? I think video is also going to be a big thing in
Oh
2022,
yeah.
bigger than it is. Yes, Kim, I agree with you. I hate videos that are more than 2 minutes.
I used to go on YouTube to learn things all the time. And now, unless it's a credible source that I've watched a lot of their stuff, and mainly it comes from LinkedIn. I've seen them on LinkedIn, then I find them on YouTube. Like, it's no longer, this is, I think, part of what's happening is people aren't searching with intent. They're not going, hey, I want to go and learn how to go and do account based sales using HubSpot. They're not doing that. What they're doing is
No.
they're like, who knows about sales, but has this approach and knows my industry?
Yeah.
And then it's building that community, that credibility, and then I'll go watch, you kind of do like the Netflix deep dive. You start with, you watch 5 seconds, 30 seconds, and then you're all in. And then
Yeah,
that's when you get
absolutely.
and I think that that leads us into another one you were mentioning about the communities and
Okay.
what
Yeah.
communities are you seeing and why? Why is this happening?
So this actually, like, the video portion actually feeds into this communities portion. So trend number 3, okay? We talked about specifically social selling, LinkedIn, and getting micro focused on those niche channels, right? Number 2, the other thing was around TikTok style videos, okay? You don't necessarily have to do TikTok video, but TikTok style. So number 3, communities. And specifically where I want to talk about is Slack. Okay. There is a massive opportunity on Slack communities.
Mm-hmm.
When a year ago, there was the rumblings of an announcement, right? We think Salesforce is going to buy Slack. Right. This would be a game changer. This is and this, if you did not pay attention to this, if you are not asking yourself, why was this happening? You have missed the boat. This is the same conversation that happened several years ago when Microsoft bought LinkedIn. And if
Kind of
you
wish that
didn't,
Microsoft wouldn't have, and that Salesforce would have bought LinkedIn, so we had a better like DM platform. But that's a whole different subject.
yeah, yeah. Well, maybe they did, right? Maybe who knows what was happening behind closed doors. This is the Hamilton song, right? We don't know what happened behind. I'm so excited for Broadway to be back. You have no idea. I finally got my Hamilton tickets. But that
Ooh.
I digress. Okay. So what ended up happening several years ago was that Microsoft bought LinkedIn. And if you didn't ask yourself and question yourself, why did that happen? You weren't already a part of the conversation. So
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn was bought by Microsoft more than likely because Microsoft had Dynamics. They were trying to create a stronger CRM platform. How do
Mm-hmm.
we give companies insights into the people that are buying from them before they meet? Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is simple. When Salesforce went ahead and bought Slack, right, or acquisition or mergers or however you want, like, let's be honest here, right? There was money paid for this company. When Salesforce bought Slack, what they said was, we're already a powerful enough CRM. How do we help teams and companies with their prospects and clients connect and have conversations and hold on to those private conversations inside a CRM? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, trend number 3, Slack communities. Now, if you're not using Slack, number 1, download it. Okay. Because in the same way that social selling is still a massive trend, when we said micro communities, we're getting ourselves even narrower in focus with these Slack communities. We're finding public based Slack channels. I think inside one of my earlier posts today, I said, like, who has like a favorite public Slack channel. Go and find that post, post your favorite one. You can actually find it. If you go to the channel, there's a little down arrow and it's like copy this link and you just put the link in there and invite people to these things. But what we're seeing is that some of these Slack channels can be really robust, like 10,000 people, which in the grand scheme of things in social, that's a small group. Right? I am no longer talking to everyone. I am talking to this specific group of people. But you can
Mhm.
get really narrow in these focus. You can find Slack groups that are like 100, 200, 300 people. Now, when Nick talks, everyone's like, oh, who's Nick? And they start following, and it's easier to engage. And we're private direct messaging, and we're in different channels, and we're sharing files really easily. We can create polls, we can create stand-ups, we can create all of these things. How many Slack channels are you a part of, Nick? Do you have any idea?
7, but I'm only really in Thursday Night Sales and Rev Genius the most, and I mainly just live in the questions. People ask questions and they teach me what people are interested in. That's I use it purely as education. Is
Yeah.
what it's been amazing, but I think there's even more opportunity to really be a strong community member like you were talking about.
Th but that's what, and this is forums, this is Slack. So I'm part of 15. I am part
Holy
of
crap.
15 Slack channel. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I cannot follow all of them. But what Slack does that a lot of social medias miss out on is you can be personally notified if people put certain keywords or phrases. So if somebody puts sales, let's say in any one of those Slack channels, I'm immediately notified so that I can answer that question. I now become the source of information, right? People don't want to follow me because I'm saying, hey, check out this free download, check out this free ebook. It's like, you have a question, I have an answer. You have a question, I can involve you in this. So getting into those smaller communities is really good. Now, on the video aspect of this, Slack is starting to see this as well, because one of
Mhm.
the biggest features they released this year was asynchronous meetings, which means that if I'm having a team stand up and I have people across multiple geographies, across multiple different time zones, we can still have our meeting. Granted, it's not in the same way, but I could say, Nick, what's your update? And you have to record an update and maybe even a screen share or something. And you say, here's what I want to share with the team. Here's the challenges that I'm facing. And then you post it out there. And then Emily goes ahead and she goes, oh, cool, Nick. I've actually done a screen share here. Here's how you can actually get past that really quickly. And here's
Mhm.
my update. And now we can watch all these little video updates at the exact same time. And a shout out to anybody who is using asynchronous Slack meetings. Let me know if that is something that you're using. I don't think we've embraced it yet. We haven't even touched the surface on it yet, but it is a great opportunity. We have actually already some questions in here too. But I
Where do
know
you
we
want to
want to
start?
get to the other two. We want to get to the other two trends. So how
Yeah.
do you want to do this?
How about 2 questions, then we'll jump into the next 2.
Yeah.
On a side note, I did not know that you could go and do the keyword triggers on Slack. I use that on LinkedIn all the time.
Mm.
I did not know that you could do that on Slack. I feel like I've been apparently we need to go in we
We
need to
might
have a
have to do a
chat.
whole show just on Slack. Maybe we'll do a show on each one of these trends and like dive in a little bit deeper inside of them. But
Yeah.
it's so powerful. And the nice thing about these Slack communities is you can find communities for any type of group. Go ahead. You can actually even Google search like public Slack communities. There's a group by Airtable. I think Stand Uply. It has another one. They have like a list of 2,000 different communities. You number one, it's infiltrated with a lot of the tech group, but you have an opportunity. Logistics and shipping, there's a public Slack channel for you. Aviation, there is a public Slack channel for you. Steve Miller Band lovers, there is a public Slack channel for you. You can find something that you can have a conversation with. Salespeople have had this. We have Rev Genius, we have Rev Collective, we have Sisters in Sales, we have women in tech sales. Like there's There's a ton of different groups that you can be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Get yourself in them. Don't have to be living there, but you can get those notifications and let you know which forums, which responses you can respond to. Provide value in those communities, and those prospects, those opportunities, those partnerships, those leads will start to naturally come to you. This is that new demand gen that you and I have been talking about for how long?
Forever.
Yeah. Okay.
So, see James's question. That would be a nice, easy one to go and start with.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on Clubhouse? Ha ha ha. Oh, James, right? Clubhouse had its moment and it's done. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's my honest opinion. It had its moment because people were I honestly, this is what I believe people were honestly craving with Clubhouse is they missed background coffee shop noise. Right? They missed networking or sitting in those rooms and having people chatter all the time. But recently, Twitter has actually released Spaces, which is now like there's so many more people on Twitter, and Twitter Spaces is now taking over Clubhouse. But in terms of a voice only, unless you enjoy background noise, or you like to have like NPR public radio debates, maybe that's your thing, right? But I don't think Clubhouse has a space anymore. When you and I are Nick, when you and I are going to do our trends in 2020 for 2023, we'll be like Clubhouse what? Okay. Because it's honestly they were a one trick pony. Unfortunately, they just weren't given enough time to grow that opportunity beyond that. And I don't think that I don't think there's any chance of recording it, and which is
That was the problem. Is
that
people?
was
It
the
was basically a
biggest problem.
podcast. It was dynamic podcasting, is really what it was replacing. And people wanted their trusted sources to have a voice and then have the ability to have those dynamic conversations. Well, they killed it. Asynchronous is the new norm. It's not
It's
live.
because you can't record it, you're forcing everyone to watch it. And yes, on LinkedIn Live, we're going ahead and we have it live. But what do we do with those lives, Nick?
Cut them up, and then we find the best
We
points for you guys to go and consume later.
we cut them up. So we give you your 2 minutes of content, right? Your TikTok style video, right? Number two, LinkedIn continuously shows it. So even if you're sitting here 30 minutes later and you're jumping on, you can go back and start watching from the original. Clubhouse doesn't have it. I'm sorry, Clubhouse is dead. There's your trend. Stop wasting your time on that. It's not going to result in sales. Okay.
Do you have any
Next,
other?
trend number 4. Let's
Yeah,
do trend number
yeah,
4.
let's do it.
Okay. What's happening?
Hmm. I'm kind of torn between the two. Why don't we do? You know what? Let's go into meetings because it is a hot topic that you've put up polls on, and actually, I'll admit you changed my mind on it because I originally thought an hour, but I was actually also looking at it as one individual meeting and not looking at the whole process and realizing that it's an acceleration play and it's psychology. So
Yeah.
let's do it.
Yes. Okay. Trend number 4, shorter meetings. Okay. So one of the things that we've all I've been watching the chat. You're all I love you all. You are so active, and I have people saying in here that video is a game changer. Stop doing this. I hate videos longer than they have to be. One of the things that we've said that we enjoy about the content that we're reaching is that it has to be short, sweet, to the point. I want to consume 15 seconds, get to the point, get me out. Meetings have to reflect that. So trend number 4 is the 20-minute meeting. And if you're already doing this, boop, boop, I give you the famous gong. Gong. Because what that tells me is that you're already ahead of the trend. But there's too many of you that are not at that trend yet. And today is the day that you start to embrace the 20-minute sales meeting. If your meetings are longer than 45 minutes, they are too long. Because what we are seeing is that, number one, as people continue in this hybrid environment, whether you're going 100% virtual, which a lot of companies have told me today that they're like, we are never going back. We are staying 100% virtual. There's a lot of companies that are like, we actually are liking the virtual thing, right? We were going to start to embrace this a little more. We're going to try to get ourselves into a hybrid model. I don't think I've heard anybody say, Oh, absolutely not. We are never going to do video communication again, Kim. I don't know if there's anyone out there, and I think maybe if you're watching this, you're probably not going to be in agreement with that. But the 20-minute meeting, it definitely needs to be the thing, because as we continue on through 2022, it is going to become more difficult to ask for somebody for a time longer than 30 minutes. And the reason behind that is because we are stacking ourselves. So the why 20 minutes? Okay, number one, for those of us that are already prospecting, are already connecting with our clients online, it's a
Mhm.
really easy way to get them to say yes. If they can't agree to a 15-minute, a 20-minute virtual coffee conversation, let's be honest, they don't have time, save money, streamline processes, and improve their efficiencies within their company. Okay, they're living in that comic where you had like the cave people that were like pushing the cart with the square wheels, and the guy comes along, he's like, "I got this round thing." They're like, "We're too busy being busy," like so. Take that as your red flag. Thank you very much. I'm out. But the other thing is because of the amount of productivity and efficiency that we're seeing. I don't know about you, but I am having way more conversations, way more meetings than I ever had before. We were
Yeah.
talking about this maybe last week, right?
Yeah.
Where I said, I'm like, I had a super busy day. I was like, I had 14 meetings, 14 meetings. Like, that's incredible. Like, that's insane. And it's not like I had to sit there for like 7 hours back to back to back with no bathroom breaks or eating breaks. That was still 14 minutes in around 6 hours with a few breaks in between. It was still a really busy day. Don't get me wrong. But under any traditional sales process, even if I only had to commute 15 minutes to 30 minutes between meetings, that I would never be able to do 14 meetings in a standard work week.
Yeah.
Right. And today in virtual, now I'm being able to meet that. So you have to get really good at the 20-minute meeting, but it's not just for meeting number one. It's going to be for all of them,
All of them.
all of them. And if you cannot convey the amount of information you need in 20 minutes, you definitely cannot convey the same amount of information in an hour. So be brief, be bold, be gone. The only way you are going to get that fast is you have to concentrate on being faster. The only way you're going to get to that information is you have to concentrate on the information you need and don't spend your time with the fluff. And you may say, but Kim, what about rapport building? That's why I built you on trend number one and trend number two. Get
Mhm.
yourself into those videos and that social selling. Get yourself into those communities. And so that you're building that conversation so that when you and I meet for the very first time, Nick, we already have established a certain level of kinship. We
Mhm.
already know that I already know that you're going to provide me value. I already know that you and I have commonality because guess what? You and I are in the same Slack group that 600 other people are. I already know that you and I have something in common.
Mhm. And you never had that before. Before we had social media, it was the pop-ins. It was it was our networking groups, our associations, could even be something as simple as church. People would have
Oh,
these gatherings, right? And they would see each other on a regular basis. And I actually compared LinkedIn like going to or actually Slack channels is a better example, but it's like going to the gym. And if you
yes.
go to some of the gyms, the first day you go there, nobody will say hi to you. They might smile
Yes.
at you. There'll be nothing.
Yeah,
The second week, you might get a couple highs. People might recognize you. 3 months later, you're kind of like inducted into the family. And now,
absolutely.
how are you? How have you been? Hey, what are you training today? This is the mentality is people want to see consistency and see you show up. And that's why our meetings are getting so much shorter is because you took that out of the meeting that used to be an hour or 2 hours, some people, and now you have that trust, credibility, and rapport long before. So it's like a Kickstarter when you hit that
Absolutely.
20 minutes.
Yep. Don't waste my time with bullshit. Right? Like, let's not sit here and, and have all of these like generic conversations that are meaningless to me. It's not important to me. Like, let's be honest. I just like, I'm already meeting with you. I already know that you're going to provide me value, because all else being equal, with the amount of time that I could have spent with you or the 100 other things that I could have spent on my business, I chose that the time I'm spending with you is the most valuable thing that I could be doing in that moment in time. So take that number one as a win, but make sure that you're actually providing the client the value that they have inherently said, I am spending my very valuable time with you. Make it count. Okay. Let's get to this. And for those of you that are saying, well, Kim, sales is about relationship. Absolutely. And that's why all of that time that you're spending on those private groups, on those Slack channels, sharing those videos, that is your relationship building time. You and I have talked about this one before, Nick, where we need to compartmentalize the rapport from the value of the meeting. And the rapport comes before the meeting now, not during it.
Yep. You build your trust, you get your credibility. Now it's value. Deliver on
Absolutely.
value. And if you don't know enough of, and this is something I'm seeing in sales, I'll just touch on it, but this is where a lot of salespeople are struggling, is that they don't have that credibility because they don't know enough about their customers or their product knowledge, or they haven't asked the right questions, or they try to pitch too early. So these are things you have to really, if you're not having really good sales success, pay attention to where it's happening and why. And you
Yeah.
might be a little premature, or you're trying to do things the old way.
Yeah,
Would you like
absolutely.
to touch on Trevor's question really quick?
Yeah. So Trevor, on what platform? So yes, you can use. I prefer Zoom, only because it's really easy for me to record it. It also has to do with eye contact. So the virtual selling side of where eye contact is. I honestly don't care where you do this. And one of the things that we did not make the top 5 cuts of trends was actually using some of the more original video communication channels, such as FaceTime and Google Duo, to have these conversations and these meetings. Those did not make the cut for our trends this year. Maybe they'll make the cut for the trends next year. But you can use whatever video platform that you want. It doesn't really matter. It has to do with the way you structure the meeting inside the person's calendar. Book it for 20 minutes. Keep yourself consistent on that period of time, or book it for 30, but end. It starts and ends directly on time. Do not allow yourself to be late on that one.
So, Kim, it's
Mhm.
strategy days coming up, and I was thinking
Yeah.
I'd love to pitch you on us going to a couple trade shows next year. I would, I got my passport already, my vaccine passport already, and I would love to fly all over Europe. I mean, I would love to go and
You're
strategically go to some trade shows.
Yeah, Germany during, I don't know, October, like, is there anything going on there?
Somebody said something about Belgium has this like really big one that, I think that we would get a lot of value from. I might need to
Oh
take a
my
month.
goodness. I'm like, we just missed Web Summit in Portugal. I saw the photos. I don't know if you saw the photo. I've
I
been to
did.
Web Summit. I'm like, I went to Web Summit back in 2016. Incredibly insane, way too big for my liking. But trend number 5. Bum, ba-da-dum. And our final trend for today, conferences and trade shows. Yes, we've been talking a lot about virtual communicating with people through asynchronous means, video, social media, Slack channels, making sure that we're connecting through shorter length of meetings. So why in B2B sales, and specifically our virtual selling live conversation, are we going to talk about trend number 5 being conferences and trade shows? Okay. Here's the reason, right? It's
Hmm.
old school, right? But sometimes everything old comes back new again. Okay, number 1, people have a pent up desire to finally be back in person. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Get out of their
I
little
like
hidey holes.
Oh, I went to I so in the last 2 weeks, I think I've done like 3 or 4 different events. I can't even remember. I did a gala, I did a massive networking actually I did one massive networking event, and I did 2 smaller networking events. Uh, and the first event that I went to, where it was like a bigger event, I was just like, I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I am so confused. Do I take off my mask? Do I drink my wine? Do I like throw it away? Do I shake people's hands? Am I allowed to hug them? And then like, one glass in, everyone's like, like licking each other's cheeks. We're like, ah. right? COVID what? And so, but we have this pent up energy, right? Where companies have typically seen a lot of their new prospects and new clients was from these conferences and trade shows. So of course they're going to go back to that again. Of course they're going to say this is where we need to. But
Mhm.
conferences and trade shows are not just about connecting with brand new prospects. And this is why I put it on our trend list this week, is because when we are looking at conferences and trade shows, it is better to find the new things that are happening. So, what are the things that you're just not exposed to on a daily basis? Start having those conversations with new partners, new relationships,
Uh,
new connections. How are you going to be able to do this? Educate yourself. Your buyers are likely at the same trade shows that you are. Find out where they're also looking at alternative solutions. One of the things we've talked about on this show before is how buyers make decisions. And very rarely is that buying decision nick your product and something exactly like your product.
mhm,
We've never really been there, and that's not going to be the case. Instead, the buyer's like, well, do we buy this piece of software? Do we choose to buy this piece of machinery? Or do we choose to, I don't know, outsource our entire call center? Each
mhm,
one of those has a cost established with it. We're not really sure what is going to provide our company the biggest change. So, by being there, it allows you to be in front of the different options that your clients may consider. Okay? But the biggest thing that you want to see when it comes to conferences and trade show is the way that you're finally going to get to connect to those people that you've had those online conversations with now in person. Forcing those massive collision points that used to just happen at them, we are now going to be far more intentional with this. When I am going to a conference, I am more likely to post inside private forums, Slack channels, and on my LinkedIn groups. Hey, I am going to the EOS conference down in Orlando in April. Who's with me? And seeing how many people say yes. And so then I know these are the people that I now want to connect with while I'm there. We've already made an intention to connect. And when I know that Jeremy is going to be there, Jeremy's likely going to be probably surrounded by some people. And
mhm,
that is going to be the transfer of trust that I now need to make the most amount of the time and investment that I've spent to get to those conferences. Conferences are not going to be where you're likely going to find those first time prospects, but rather prospects that have engaged with you in some aspect. And now we're just bridging that conversation. But the moment I leave Orlando, I'm not flying back to Orlando for any of those meetings. This is why that 20-minute meeting is going to be so beneficial. You see how this is
mhm.
all working like an ecosystem now? Like these are
Yeah.
why we said that these are the trends. Because when you master one, you have to master them all. Otherwise, you can throw everything out on the wayside. So, I think in summary, what were our top 5 trends?
One thing I just wanted to add is that I was thinking of like your trade shows are an extension of your Slack channel communities
Mm.
where you're finally doing that face to face. So it's yeah.
Yeah,
Go on, Kim.
absolutely. Absolutely. One of the biggest one of the so here's an example of this. And this is actually pre-pandemic. But there was a gentleman, and I can't remember your name. Please do a shout out if you know who this person is. It was at Inbound. So HubSpot runs an annual event every year called Inbound. They bring in like 30,000 people to this thing. And this gentleman goes ahead and goes, I don't really know anybody here. So I'm gonna start a hashtag Black at Inbound. And all of a sudden, everyone started to follow the hashtag Black at Inbound. It became its own community that now is surrounded where they talk about sales, they talk about marketing, they're building that rapport as they go forward. So, if you are going to show up to one of these trade shows, you're going to show up to one of these conferences, take that as an excellent example of how to create a community around an in person event. Create a hashtag or just let people know I will be standing here at this time. I remember going to Inbound and actually tweeting this out. Hey, I am standing by booth C53. I don't know anybody here. My name is Kim, and I love having cappuccinos with one sugar. If you happen to be around, please come by. We can have a coffee. And you wouldn't believe how many people are like, I saw your tweet and I didn't know anybody else and I wanted to come and say hi. And I was like, oh, good. And that gave us the opportunity. Yes. And we have some great final
Yeah.
comments as we
Can I
go
pull it
forward
up?
here. Yeah,
Tracy's first.
absolutely.
Okay.
So the
Want to read? You want me to?
crossroads. Yeah, you go ahead and read.
I think the
I've
crossroads
talked
about
enough.
I wasn't going to say anything, but it's okay. No, just kidding. I think the crossroads about trade shows in this new world is more of a question of invest in booth traditionally, or just attend or sponsor. Mainly the uncertainty of the attendance and engagement. I love this question. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, right. The question is just more of a comment because I love it as a comment by itself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you can invest, but you have to make sure that you're maximizing this. And one of the things I say with anyone who is going to maximize or invest in a booth is look at this as a mini sales cycle. What is the intention with any? If you are in a sales cycle, what is the intention of the first interaction, Nick?
The discovery, getting to know them, to figure out that need, see if there's a fit.
Close, close. Even before that, what do you need to do in order to know, like, I can either I'm moving this thing forward, like this is either potentially moving a sales cycle or not.
How far back are you going? I just go and qualify.
Well, you
I
can
feel like it's a
qualify,
trick
great.
question.
I no, it's not a trick question. It's not a trick question. And I think this is where a lot of people get lost. Is like your only intention in the very first interaction with anybody is to get a meeting. I need to get a meeting. And so this is where people get lost in the trade show booths because they put out the little fishbowl, drop your card in here and win a $1,000 gift card. And everyone's like, I would love $1,000 gift card. There you go. There you go. There you go. They're not qualified. They don't even know what your product or service does. And as a salesperson, when you've drawn that name out of the hat and you called Amy, and Amy's like, cool, what company is this? What do you guys do? Yeah, we don't need you. And you're like, wow, that was awesome. That was money well spent.
I'm on with
And
Tracy. Make an impression. That's what I've always done, is trying to make an impression and see if there's a fit. Because if there's no fit, then why would you book the meeting? Now you're wasting time.
well,
We
okay,
don't have
so
to go back and forth, but
right, yeah, you ask a couple questions, but get that meeting booked. Right.
yes.
If the meeting is not because number one, people have short attention spans. We already talked about that in video, right? People have short attention spans. In 48 hours post your trade show, they're going to forget all about you. They
Yeah.
have moved on, right? But the other thing is that you're going to better be able to tell your marketing department, your CFO, anyone who's like ultimately the controller who's holding onto the budget purse strings, that listen, this was the return on investment we got from that trade show. This investment generated X number of meetings.
Hmm.
That for me is a very clear signal that this was valuable or it was not valuable. Ask your questions, right? So, what are you looking to purchase? What do you currently use? How are you currently doing this? That's awesome. Listen, would you be interested in learning more about this? Let's book you for a demo in 2 days from now, a
Hmm.
week from now, 3 weeks from now. Book, 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 book. One of the things I said when I was working with a team, there was a mining device company out there. Shout out to Fireball. You guys are killing it right now in trade shows. So when Fireball equipment came to me, they're like, Kim, we need to maximize this. And we focused on getting the meetings. They came back to us and they said, listen, we went from 0 meetings to I think it was a smaller trade show, but they said we got 30. We end
Hmm.
up getting 30
Jeez.
meetings and they're like that we never even thought about. It was such a simple change that we had made. They're like, but it made such a dramatic difference for an entire business.
What I'm seeing people win with trade shows right now is looking at how strong their brand is and what they're how credible they are in the market. If they have really strong credibility, they can just show up and people will come and seek them out.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to establish more credibility as a top source, then you need to speak. I would say you got to really look at your sales cycle and how well you're known, or else you can waste a lot of money in a hurry.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Want to do a quick
I
summary?
Yeah, let's do a quick summary. Yeah. Trend number 1.
B2B buyers are using social media. If they're not right now, which they probably are, they will be very near future or they will not exist.
Absolutely. Narrow your message, narrow your conversation, narrow your market. Either look at creating your own group within LinkedIn or just get yourself involved in that. Start connecting with your clients, connecting with your prospects, and start following the companies you ultimately want to sell to. And keep yourself up to date on when new people have changed or moved into those roles, and add them as quickly as possible. Congratulations on your new role with ABC Company. I've been following them for a while. You're doing great things. Right. One of the best things that I ever did with any company was move in the moment somebody was the very first time that they were appointed to a role. They were hired, and I had the conversation. Great. What is your 90-day conversation?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Number
Number
two,
two.
we're gonna go TikTok style videos. Go short, go fast, make it fun.
Yes, right? 15 seconds, right? Feel free to just have text going over top of it, right? Do not put all of your substance in something that people have to watch the entire time, right? We want to be able to go ahead and just have that conversation with them.
Number three, Slack channel communities.
Yes, Slack channel communities are amazing, right? They give you a chance to even narrow your focus even more. Find those public communities. Go ahead, Google search them. Airtable has a great list of them. Stand Uply has a great list of them. But just even reach out to your networks and let them know, or create your own. And we've seen great success. Specifically, there was an example of a manufacturing company. I'll be linking an article inside our blog post that will be coming out, which will summarize what we talked about today. And it used one where they connected with their clients, their prospects, and their internal team so that everyone can start having a conversation inside their own community.
And we're going short with those meetings.
Oh, number 4, mastering the 20-minute meeting for every stage inside the sales process. Not just for the first meeting. You definitely want to do it for the first meeting, but also doing it for all subsequent meetings right up until contract and client proposal. You want to get short and sweet with that information. You may have to have far more of them, but they are going to happen on a more frequent basis. Overall, you're going to spend less time inside the entire sales cycle, but you are going to move them a lot faster.
And number five, we're going to use those conferences differently.
Yes, conferences and trade shows, get excited, start printing off those business cards, maybe put some QR codes on there because everybody's used to QR codes nowadays. But
Mhm.
remember that you're there to meet the prospects that you've already connected with on social media, on Slack group communities, in order to move those conversations a lot faster and forward. And you want to use them as an opportunity to educate yourself, get to know different vendors, providers, partners as you move forward, because all of those will eventually become sources of great new information as you continue to expand your client base.
Well done. And that is Kim's 5 predictions for 2022. So what are your
Let
predictions? Oh,
I want
oh.
to know. I want to know. All right, I'm really excited. Like like how many people, like maybe somebody that believes that I'm completely off, and I could be. I don't think I am though. I'm definitely not. I'm never wrong. Let's be honest here. I'm never wrong. My husband knows that.
It was that time that I had to leave.
What? Wow. I know this was a longer one, but I think this was a really exciting topic. And I am so number one, I'm honored that all of you stayed as long as you did. I'm pumped. I'm always pumped talking about the future and how we're going to be moving trends.
Thank you very much, everyone. If there's anything else you can think of, throw it in the comments for us to discuss. We will be diving into some more trends this week. And next week, I believe we're going to be diving into some powerful questions and how psychology backs up questions and how we make decisions. Thank you, everyone. Look forward to seeing everyone soon. Bye bye.